Hi class. Well, I'm going to go over your last comprehensive problem, which is parts 8, 9, and 10. And for those of you who are listening and viewing this video, you know that I give you the numbers that you need to complete this pretty successfully. And there's still some students that do not view these video tutorials and really make their lives just more difficult than it's supposed to be, because I try and provide you the resources that you need. So I'm going to give you the totals that you should have come up with in comprehensive problem number 2. And these are the correct amounts, and definitely I would screenshot these. And what you're going to be doing here is basically your financial statements, which is what you did in milestone number 2. So in the first one, you're going to need the income statement, which is revenues minus expenses. And I already partially filled that out for you. Fees earned 40,000. Salary expense 1705, and you'll continue with all your expenses that are shown here in that order: rent, supplies, depreciation, insurance, and miscellaneous. And of course, you will add them up. Here it should be your total expenses, and revenue minus expenses will give you your net income. Now, in your statement of stockholders' equity, well, you've got the balances you're starting off with, which is going to be 30,000, 12,300. So we'll go to that. So you've got, let me go back to the 30,000, 12,300, and you add them together to give you 42,300. From here, you're going to subtract the dividends. From here, you're going to add the net income, which will come from here. And then you will, of course, make sure you roll forward those balances and roll them across, since it does not do the automatic calculation for you. And here, whatever total you get here, whatever total you get here in retained earnings is what you're going to be using in your balance sheet. So we go to the balance sheet. You have your assets. So we have cash, accounts receivable, supplies, prepaid rent, prepaid insurance. Those are your current assets. And I did 2 of them here for you: cash and accounts receivable, and you'll fill out the rest and then add them up. And here I put accumulated depreciation. It has to be entered as a negative number since it is a contra asset account. And of course, here you will put the value of the equipment. I think it's office equipment that you have, which is 14,500. So I can even do that for you, which is going to be here 14,500, and you will just select here office equipment. And of course, you'll list your current liabilities, and then your common stock. Well, that's going to come from up here, which is only one number here. We can even fill that out, 30,000, okay, which is going to be your 30,000. And then your retained earnings, which will be whatever total you come up here once you put in the net income. And if we check our work, we should be A-okay with everything. Okay, so that should get you with that. Now we're going to go ahead and do the part number 9, which is your closing entries. Now with your closing entries, they're going to do it in two closing entries. So we're going to close all our revenues and our expenses, and then the difference is going to be credited to retained earnings once you put all your expenses here. So if you recall, in milestone 2 video tutorial, we debit our revenues because our revenues have credit balances. So in order to make it go to 0, I have to debit it. And in order for these to make them go to 0, I have to credit them. And then the difference, revenues minus expenses, is your net income, which will then flow into your retained earnings. And then the last thing you're going to do is close dividends. So dividends is going to be a debit balance. So in order to close it, I have to credit it, and that is going to go to retained earnings, since it makes retained earnings go down. And these are the account numbers. Now, where am I getting these from? Well, they give you a little spreadsheet here. You don't have to fill out the spreadsheet, but I need that spreadsheet for the account numbers. So I'm going to open it up, and here are the account numbers. So there's 32, There's 33, that's the balance sheet accounts. The income statement accounts, 41 and 51. And that's how I come up with these numbers. That means these amounts are going to be transferred to those ledger accounts. And if I check my work, I should be okay, because if you leave these blank, then it's not going to count it correct. And here we can put 32, since I already know it's the account number 32. So now the last part will be part 10, which will be your post-closing trial balance. Post means after, like the post-game show. It's the show after the game. So after we've closed that period, which is the accounting period, which is 12 months. It doesn't have to be a calendar year, because we can be on a fiscal year, which is any 12 months. So these are going to be your permanent accounts, which are your odometer. Remember, your revenue, expenses, and dividends are your temporary accounts. That's like your trip odometer. Once you finish the trip or that accounting period, you press the button on on that trip odometer, and the balances will go to zero, while your odometer will keep accumulating. So here, what we're going to go through is all the way through retained earnings, and all of these are going to stay the same. The only one that's going to change is retained earnings. And what is retained earnings going to be? Well, it's going to be whatever you come up with uh, over here. Once you figure out what the net income is, it's going to be that amount there. And then both your debits and credits should equal. So if I go here, let's go back to part number 10. So we're going to start off with cash, and we're going to put in 44,195, just in that order up to retained earnings. And the only balance that's going to change is that one. Okay, so we're going to put 44,195, and then we're going to put in accounts receivable, and now we're going to put 8080. So we're going to go there, and we're going to put 8080. And you'll just go down the line. And remember, once you get to your liabilities, once we get to our liabilities, those are going to be on the credit side, along with common stock and retained earnings. Okay, and so the rest of them, starting with accumulated depreciation, that's going to have a credit balance because it is a contra asset account. And it will end at retained earnings. And the only number that's going to change is this, because revenues minus expenses minus your dividends will give you the new retained earnings. And that's going to be the number that you get. That's going to be the number that you get over here in the first part that you did, which will be this number. Okay, which is your beginning balance plus net income, which is your revenues minus the expenses minus the dividends, will give you a new balance of retained earnings. Well, with that, let me go back over here. With that in mind, we go back to part 10 over here, and we just check those numbers that we put in. They check out. And with that, you should be able to complete this last part of the comprehensive problem. And I hope that helps you. Good luck with it.